Welcome back, everybody. It's the next episode of the Fearless Business Podcast. I'm your host, Robin Waite, the Fearless Business Coach. I've got a very renowned guest today in the form of Bryan Clayton, who is the CEO and co-founder of GreenPal. And it's fair to say, I'd say you're a veteran business owner, entrepreneur. Really looking forward to digging into your story today, Bryan. Welcome to the show. And in terms of the differences between the two businesses, so I myself as well, I've been, running businesses since the early 2000s, and the marketing space has changed dramatically over that time because of all of the different apps and software and, social media platforms. And thanks to the internet, it's a very confusing place to be. It's a very open-ended question, so take this way where you want to, Bryan. But what would you say is some of the sort of the marketing fundamentals that you've stuck to with GreenPal that's given it the greatest success over the past 8 years?
Yeah, in many ways, starting a business today is easier than it's ever been. And in many ways, it's harder. I think it's easier in the sense that the information is there. Everything you need to know is at your fingertips. Whereas when I was starting a business in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was like maybe we had some cassette tapes of some talk that somebody gave at a conference somewhere 5 years ago that you could buy. But nowadays you can pop anything up on YouTube, and everything I know about building GreenPal and my co-founders as well came from YouTube University. And it's like, if you're going to reinvent yourself as an entrepreneur, as a founder, your living room needs to be a classroom. Your car needs to be a mobile classroom. There are not enough hours in the day for you to learn the things you're going to have to learn. And that relates to product design, it relates to technical execution, and most importantly, it relates to the distribution and marketing, because the distribution and marketing is what kills most startups. If you can have the best product in the world, but if you haven't done some sort of innovation on distribution and marketing for it, it does not matter. It's dead on arrival. And so for us, early on, like 40, 50, 60 hours a week working in the business, but then another 30, 40 hours a week trying to learn stuff like if we can make paid channels work, if we can make Facebook ads or Instagram ads or Google ads work, SEO, how are we going to compete in SEO? Wow, that's really tough too. What's it going to take to compete in SEO? And so we threw all of our effort into one channel. That was organic search. And even back then, 8 years ago, even to this day, half of what maybe our output was on a weekly basis was all the things you need to do to compete in organic search. And the only way we've been able to do that is just by learning from other practitioners, watching tons of hours and hours and hours of content on YouTube, and paying for a few premium courses here and there, and learning it ourselves, and then executing it ourselves and building out our team to execute our plan.
Probably difficult to kind of pin down one specific resource or book or course that you've done over the time, which has kind of made one of the biggest transformations. And you mentioned sort of, the Lean Startup by Eric Ries earlier on, and another book as well. What would you say is where would you send somebody who's kind of just getting into starting up a business and growing it? What would be the first thing you say, go and have a look at this?
Yeah, this is a general resource, but of course the E-Myth by Michael Gerber is like basic 101. This is what it means to own a business and not be self-employed. So a lot of people you're not born knowing this stuff. And so you think you own a business, but in fact, you're just self-employed. And that's okay. It's okay to be self-employed. But if you have dreams of running and owning an actual business, there's differences, and you need to kind of understand how to go about that. The E-Myth is a great book. It's just a very basic book that talks about a woman who made a bakery, who opened a bakery. And she did it because she loved baking pies with her grandma. And then after a year of running her bakery, she hated pies. And so it's like observing that storyline, which every single entrepreneur goes through, and then how to fix it. And that's one thing I love about that book. It walks you through how to distinguish between working in your business and on your business, how to go through the tactics of building out an org chart, and how to delegate, and how to identify the roles that you need within your company, and how to delegate those roles. And it's a timeless book. I think every entrepreneur needs to read it. Doesn't matter what you're doing.
I absolutely love the E-Myth, and you've inspired me. I think next time I take my dog Wilbur out for a walk, I'm going to plug that into Audible and give that a good listen again.
Yeah, it's one of those you need to listen to every 2 or 3 years, right? The fundamentals are just timeless.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.